And I'm one of those people who believe that the Kenyan market looks saturated because the penetration rate is 78%. So I think I've written suggesting that Safaricom should consider looking at the other market in the neighborhood. What's your comment?
Well, the first problem is that I don't agree with you that the Kenyan market looks saturated.
Yeah.
The 78% is not right. There's a large number of customers who've got multiple SIM cards.
Yes.
And we've discovered this, for example, when we disconnected 1.4 million customers who were not registered. Nothing happened to revenue.
Yeah.
And we imagine it's probably the same thing with our competitors. So we think that the penetration probably sits more like 50%. Not a scientific number. So that's the first thing. There's a lot more growth. The second thing is, a large percentage of the Kenyan population are under the age of 18.
Yeah.
So those people are coming into the market. The third thing is that, we are still, we're still seeing a lot of growth in voice. Do you remember a little while ago people were saying voice is dead?
Yes.
Some of my competitors had said 2 years ago, voice is dead. Today's numbers show clearly that voice is not dead. It still is growing. And then we've got, what can be done with data. And data is a growing market. And whilst our revenue growth on data didn't seem perhaps that impressive, what we have got is we've now got 7.1 million customers who are data customers now. That's a massive growth in the past 6 months. And whilst the revenues didn't go up, that was because we reduced data prices. So out-of-bundle data prices reduced by 50%. So, a lot more growth still left in this market. Putting aside what's happening on things like M-PESA, M-Shwari, what we'll do in terms of M-Health, M-Education. So one of the most exciting markets. I mean, why would you want to go to one of those dull markets next door? But having said that, having said all of that, I would add that there is nothing which stops us from looking outside of the Kenyan borders. Okay. It's just that we think that we still have, quite some interesting challenges here in Kenya to address.
Okay. So we are talking about we are still 50%, but we can still. There's still a lot of action, right, in this market.
A lot of action still in this market.
I've looked at just as I was looking at the figures, I realized your debt service ratio is what is called financing costs is too small for a company this size. We were actually laughing and saying that this is what Nice and Lovely should be incurring in terms of financing costs. What's the secret?
When I first came into the company, people were saying, you've got an under-leveraged balance sheet. And then, of course, we saw interest rates increase and inflation rates increase and the shilling devalue, and then people started to panic. We have always been very prudent in how we managed our debt. We reduced from 10 to 5, and we expect to get rid of that 5 over time.
Okay, because
we have focused in the past year or so in managing our costs.
Yeah.
So our costs, whilst our revenues grew by 16%, our costs only grew by 6%.
Okay.
And we're very cash generative. We don't, there's not much to spend our money on, and we've been giving that back in dividends. And as you can see from today, it's the biggest dividend.
It's the biggest dividend.
We've seen.
8 years ago, I was rating companies. In some of the companies we used to call $100 million companies. This is basically on the revenue generated in a year. Safaricom was one of those companies. Just today, as I was looking, a quick calculation indicated this company is a $1.5 billion company, having grown 150 times in only 8 years. How did that happen?
It's been a long process, huh? Michael started this thing 13 years ago, and we just continued the same journey. There's nothing new. We've always had a sense of purpose, and our purpose actually is not about chasing these numbers.
No.
Our purpose has always been about transforming lives.
Yes.
So even when Michael started the foundation many years ago, we're celebrating our 10th anniversary in the foundation. We've given out 1.8 billion. This year alone, this year just completed, we gave out more than $500 million to
Yeah.
communities. So we focus on transforming the lives of Kenyans. And we think if we can do that, then the rest of it falls into place.
Well, I think you have answered the first question, the second question. Basically, yeah, what I was coming to the second question, at this growing from $100 million company to one must have taken a lot of people, both inside and outside the company, but within the country, out of poverty line.
Yes, I was looking at some numbers this morning, and we've looked at the number of children who we put into classrooms. We looked at the number of people who we've helped through our mobile medical camps. We've looked at the projects which has contributed towards economic empowerment, and we're talking about millions of people.
Yes.
And that's just through the foundation. Of course, the fundamentals of the product that we do is different to any other product. A mobile phone is more ubiquitous than access to clean water or sanitation. And so we take that responsibility seriously and say, how can we use this product to reach to the government's agenda of education, of health, of agriculture?
In terms of employment, both direct and indirect, this figure must have brought a number of people into the job market.
Well, we've got about 3,500 direct employees.
Yeah.
Then we've got the people who are working in the dealer base.
Yes.
So we think that there's probably about 250,000 people.
250,000 people.
Who's selling airtime or selling phones.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we've got 6,000 to 5,000 M-PESA agents. So there are more jobs which are created there. And then there's the kind of the secondary thing which goes beyond that. So yes, we think we're responsible for quite a lot of jobs.
I must say, I congratulate you for that. Now, my last question. This is a general view, a question about Kenya, not about Safaricom now. From where you sit, what's your view of the Kenyan economy? Where do you see us going?
I'm massively optimistic about the Kenyan economy.
Yeah.
I think that there was a bit of wobble
Yes.
a couple of months ago with the elections. Interestingly, that wobble didn't seem to come from foreign investors. So we saw the Nairobi Stock Exchange continue to attract more investment on the run-up to the election, during the election period, and indeed after the election period. So there's certainly international confidence in this market. As a market itself, we see quite a bit of stability in the short to medium term. We don't anticipate any significant devaluation in the shilling. We see inflation coming under control, and we see tight fiscal management of the economy, despite some of the challenges we've got with the devolved government. I mean, for sure, that will put some budget challenges on us. But I do think that as an economy, we're set fair for success. To take the position that we should take, which is as the powerhouse, not just in the sector, but for the larger region as well.
So your message to the local productive sectors is? What would you say?
My message to the local productive sector is that we have a young market. More than 50% of the population are young people, below the age of consent. That's a massive market for us to be addressing. We have our neighbors, whose market we should be addressing. We have very smart people in this country. So, if you want to come in to invest in Kenya, this is absolutely the right time to do so.
I've just noted, which is the last question. I noticed you have the lowest price tariff for prepaid. Can it go any lower?
We have in Kenya the lowest prices in sub-Saharan Africa.
Yes.
At the equivalent, if you do the sums, equivalent of 4 US cents a minute. Yes, it can go lower, but if it goes lower, it will completely destroy the industry.
Yeah, if it goes any lower, it's too bad. It's like giving the service for free.
Yeah, nothing in life is free.
So the lowest it can go is $0.04. It's about 3 shillings and 32 cents.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bobby Bob Collymore.
That'll do.